on a national average, 50% of students who go into university are interested in studying abroad. But if something really curious happens once they get to school, once they get to university, you realize that only 10%, or a little bit less, about 8% of students actually do study abroad. And the challenge is trying to figure out what happens. Why is it that you can go from 50% of students that do want to study abroad, but once they get into university, only 8% actually do? And this has been something that a lot of international educators have been thinking about and trying to figure out, how do we as a country get the numbers up from 8% up to a higher number? And this isn't just the United States. This is Australia and Canada, Brazil. International educators around the world are looking for, how do we get more students to actually study abroad? It's one thing to know that there's a value in studying abroad. You know, you can talk about all the values of studying abroad, but if the student isn't listening, it isn't engaged, and it actually isn't going through and studying abroad, perhaps the reason is that they're not thinking that studying abroad is really for them. Maybe it's not something they ever thought, well, they could do, or they can't afford, or it's not really for them, or they're afraid that perhaps if they do study abroad, they'll lose step with the other students, either clubs or sports, or it could just be that they don't want to leave campus because they believe that their university is perhaps better than the ones abroad. Whatever the reason is, between cost, finance, culture reasons, we do see a huge drop-off from 50% that want to study abroad down to less than 8% that actually do. And why is that? And what is the solution? And we here at Summit Global Education think that we've kind of stumbled upon what we think is a great part of the solution. Maybe not the entire thing, but a good part of it. And we think we need to challenge students to be more engaged with international events. Part of that is challenging them because I think students like a good challenge. But part of that is because the world is a fantastic place. You know, I've heard people say that we need increased tolerance between cultures of different people, different places. I don't think tolerance is really what we're going to be after. I think tolerance implies that somebody smells bad and you're going to tolerate that smell. I don't want students to be tolerant of international cultures. I want them to love international cultures. I want them to be engaged global citizens, but going out in the world because they love it. How do you get them to actually go abroad? I think part of that is getting them to love international stuff. You know, the world is fantastic. There are cultures around the world that are interesting. There are foods that are interesting, movies that are interesting, languages are great. But if you can't get students to kind of get out of their comfort zone and start doing that, how do you get them to then go take the next step and actually study abroad? So what we're going to do is call on students from around the world to be more engaged, try new foods, try sitting next to that foreign kid in your class and learning about the culture where they come from. Go to a foreign food and try food you never tried before. Watch a foreign movie that you never saw before. And what we're going to ask people to do is to try to accept that no matter what level you are in international education, you could probably do a little bit better. The challenge is to try a little bit more, be a little bit more bold, try new foods, be more engaged, and try getting out of your comfort zone and doing a little bit more. And for doing that, if you can show that you are engaged in that, we'd like to reward you in a way that probably will make sense to international students. We're starting the summit. It's called the IE Challenge. We'll be using the hashtag the IE Challenge in social media, and we'll be asking students to film themselves doing exactly that, getting out of their comfort zone and doing things that perhaps they used to think was uncomfortable, but trying new foods, being a bit more bold, making friends with international people. And the students that we're going to ask you to make little films, create them, and upload them with the IE Challenge hashtag. As a reward, we're offering one round-trip airfare ticket for the winner. We'll be announcing the rules, we'll be announcing how the judging is done, and we're going to have a really good time watching all the videos coming in. So please stay tuned and learn more about the IE Challenge.